Welcome back, everyone. I'm Zell, and today we're looking at the Bestech Spike. Alright, guys, the Spike is... well, I'll just be straight up and honest with you. Whenever Nick, these are on loan from Staza 23, the Bestech knives I've got. We're going to be going through a few of them. And whenever it first showed up, I was not enamored with it because it's FRN. Not that FRN's bad or anything. In fact, it's a really good handle material. After having G10 handle materials on most of these knives, I just wasn't too much into it. Then I pulled it out of the box and I set it aside, and I messed with some of the other knives in the 12C27 and or 12C28, and I was like, no, they're all right. And I eventually got to this one, and I did this, and then I was like, wow. Okay, so we got a $52 knife that has just a freaky smooth action. So then I started investigating the knife a little further, and that's what we're going to get into now. First up, we got a closed length of 4.8 inches, a handle thickness of 0.55, a spine-to-spine height of 1.19, and I know I need to update the pause and read cards to read spine-to-spine, don't I? But they're not done. They still say closed height. You guys know what it means. It's all good. We have an open overall length of 8.35, a blade length of 3.55 with an edge length of 3.63. It's one of those ones that's got the handle sticking out in front of the finish of the edge, which is fine. Blade stock thickness of 0.150 or 3.8 millimeters, so slightly thinner than normal, and a weight of 4.22 ounces, and a grip length of just shy of 4 inches. So, plenty of grip length down there. And let's get a look at the handle. We've got our standard Bestech hardware, except for the pivot. We'll get into that in just a minute. And since they did FRN, they injection molded it, and look at the nice pattern we've got on the handle. All the nice chamfering. I mean, okay. I'm digging the FRN. I can go with that if we're going to get that out of it. We don't have too much flex in it. It's got some flex, but it's not awful. And we've got full liners that have been skeletonized down in there. I can dig it. And then we've got a deep carry pocket clip, a nice big lanyard hole that's not an extra thing on the knife. It's worked into the knife. Got a nice back spacer in there. And it looks like it's the same material. I'll tell you why here in a few minutes, I'm not sure it's the same material. But overall, then I was like, oh my goodness, and it's got that action. I'm liking this, so let's do some size comparison. So we know we've got basically a 3.5 inch knife, so let's get out our Rat Model 1. And there is our Rat, and we have a Buck 110, of course. And it's right in there with those guys, but it's definitely a bunch lighter. That FRN does a good job. I mean, 4.22 ounces, not bad in this arena for an inexpensive knife. So there was those two. We need a Delica, don't we? Well, here we go. There's one Delica. And let's do a little bit of other comparison of similar knives. Now, the rest of them are D2. But there is our 617 from Wee, and we've got a Bestech, and we happen to have a Tuya knife. That is the Bestech Paladin. As of the recording of this video, it has not been released. I don't know about the release of the video. It may be out by the time the video makes it to you. But very much the same all down through there, except for FRN and 12C28 on the Spike. Not bad. And I like this Tuya knife, and I like that Paladin from Bestech too. Very nice knives. So there we go with some size comparison. Oh, what the heck. We got one more. We'll throw out a Wisp and the Grampus. That Grampus, that's quite the knife. We'll be talking about it soon too. And then let's get a look at this blade and talk about the 12C28N a bit. Well, first off, we've got an interesting swedge back here, and this is a blade that Bestech has done a pretty good job of putting a bit of a chamfer on. Whenever you get right out here to the tip, it gets a little catchy, but it's not horrible. And let's see how that section of the blade is down in the knife when it's closed. So, okay, it is sand.
All right, guys, I need to break in here real quick because I'm going to call this stuff 12C28N over and over and over again, and it's actually 12C27. I apologize, I wrote it down wrong on my reference card, but that's what it is. It's 12C27. Everything I say does still apply to the 12C27. The difference between the two steels is somewhat negligible. Anyhow, back to the video.
Sandvik's 12C28N. So what does that mean for you as a user? Well, one, it means we get a really nice finish on the blade. We got Bestech knives right there, and we got spike on this side and the blade steel right there. So they didn't billboard it up too bad. And they got a really nice belt and polish finish with Bestech's black coating around the rest. Like all that, we even got a pretty darn good edge termination. Not quite perfect, but pretty darn good and easily fixable. Got some jimping up there on the top of the blade. And yeah, I know, I'm beating around the bush. The 12C28. Alright, so here is my opinion of this steel. 12C28 sharpens relatively easily. In fact, compared to most modern steels, it sharpens very easily. Strops up very easily. It holds a fine edge for a decent amount of time. It holds a working edge, in my experience, for quite a while. And the people are going to argue with me on this one, but it may have to do with the way I use my knives and what I use them for. Keep that in mind. For me, the 12C28N and the 14C28N, they hold that working edge a lot longer than a more expensive steel in VG10. Why? I don't know. I've never put them under the microscope and tried to figure it out, and it very well may have to do with the materials I'm cutting. But VG10 has never worked well for me, and I carried the 14C28N for a long time in some of those old US-made Kershaws. But the 12C28N, is it D2? Well, no. Here's the difference. Here is the big difference for all of you that are questioning the 12C28. D2 takes a fine edge, and it'll hold it for about 3 minutes. That's whether you do anything to it or not. Or use it or not. You can use a heck out of it for 3 minutes, and it's still only going to hold that super fine edge for 3 minutes. And this is analogy, guys. Don't take it seriously. But it's the thing that happens with D2 after that is it starts microchipping, and you get little bits of the blade fall out, and it stays really, really sharp for a very long time. Is it hair whittling sharp? Is it slicing phone book paper sharp? Heck no. But it's plenty sharp enough to do your everyday tasks for a very long time. The 12C28N isn't going to do that. It's going to stay sharp enough to do your everyday tasks for a reasonable amount of time. The big difference comes down to this. If you keep the 12C28N stropped up, you can keep a very, very sharp edge on the 12C28N. If you keep the D2 stropped up, and I'm not even sure if it helps to strop the D2 after a certain point, but the D2 will lose that edge, and that working edge will go on for a long time, but you will lose that fine edge, and you can't just strop it back up like you can on this 12C28 or the 14C28N, or for that matter, even VG10. So there's your big difference, is ease of sharpening and maintenance. You have to do it a little more often, but it's a heck of a lot easier. So there you go on the blade, and I just done a lot of talking on that, so that's going to make this video a little bit longer, but we are going to now go to our pause and read card, and I'll be right back with you. Alright guys, mechanically on this knife, it is Bestech normal. We've got nested liners. We've got ceramic ball bearings, ceramic detent. We've got the same old Bestech screws that we've been getting as far as I know. Let me see there's our T6. So we get the Weehaw stuck up here and see what we end up with. Yeah, they're reasonably deep. They're reasonably tight for stainless screws. However, I hear a rumor we may be getting even better screws from Bestech. I hope that rumor is true because they're already doing well. And if we get even better ones, well, you guys know how much I like that. And I threw the jeans up here, but before we get them in there, here is the one downfall of this knife. This knife has a T6 pivot, and it's deep, but I'm just going to tell you, I went to take this thing apart. I was going to do a what's inside video, and I tried once and just stopped. Why? Because I didn't want to tear up the pivot on someone else's knife. This is Stazza 23's knife. I'm not going to tear it up on him. If I were to go and take it apart myself, I would find some kind of spanner that would fit right there and take it apart that way. I'm sure if I go through the stuff at the parts store, I can find something that'll work. But I'm not going to try to take it apart with that little T6. Now, from what I understand, those pivots are no more. Now, they'll friggin' mess with me and they'll come back. But from what I understand, that's something that isn't going to be coming back. And now let's get it in the pocket. And that's where this knife comes up really, really good. Check that out. Got the lanyard hole covered up, but man, that thing gets down in the pocket nice and deep, leaves enough out for you to get a hold of, and it's stainless, so you can get that right there. And if we flip it around the other way, the knife leads your hand, and I guess I should back out there. There we go. Leads your hand down in the pocket well, doesn't have a bunch of sharp stuff on the back of it. Very well done there. And we should probably cut something with it, shouldn't we? You guys want me to. I think it's sharp already, but you guys have to have that proof stuff. I know. So, here we go. There you go. That is 12C27. I have not sharpened it. I took it out of the box. I looked at it. I think I did run it over a strop a couple of times. But, there you go. That's at 12C27. It'll hold a really, really nice fine edge. And, alright, so we're down to ergonomics, aren't we? Yes, we are. Alright, look at it. Tell me what I'm going to say. You can type it down there because you guys all know. It's nice, simple handle. The pocket clip doesn't get in my hand. It could use, like many knives, use a jimping move a little farther forward from my hand, but it's not bad. So, with a nice, simple handle like that, it's not going to matter how you get a hold of it, because you're going to be fine. It's just, it's a well-designed knife, very well-designed knife. That pivot is a major downer. So guys, let's talk about the steel, because besides this pivot being a T6, which it shouldn't be, the major thing that people are complaining about with this knife is the steel. Alright, whenever we look at D2 and Sandvik's 14C28, yeah, there's a fairly major difference. One, this is a truly stainless steel. Secondly, this steel sharpens a lot easier and takes a lot finer edge than D2 does. D2 is a great steel. I love it. It's nice to see it in a lot of these less expensive knives. But the thing that D2 does is whenever I really need it to have a fine edge, it always lets me down because it stays that working sharp for a long time. So if you're cutting packaging, stuff like that, you don't even realize that it's starting to get a little bit dull because it's still doing the job just fine. You're having to put a little extra effort into it, but not that much. And then you go to cut something fine. You need to cut some cloth, or you need to cut, some tape to fit something or something like that. And you realize the dadgum thing isn't sharp. Okay, well, the 12C28 isn't going to hold a fine edge any longer, but it will take a very fine edge. And you can strop that very fine edge back up on it fairly easily. And whenever I say fairly easily, if you get in that situation where you need it to have a fine edge and you've got a pair of denim jeans on, you can probably strop back up a fairly fine edge on your denim jeans. And that's a good and a bad thing. You know, it means that the steel responds to stropping fairly well. It also means it's a little soft, but it's not bad. And it's that split. Do you want something that's hard to sharpen, that holds a good edge for what seems like forever, but doesn't hold a fine edge? Or do you want something that'll hold a super fine edge? Because this stuff's actually razor steel, guys. It'll hold a super fine edge, but you're going to have to maintain it more often. That's the split whenever we talk about D2 and the 14C or the 12C28, or even VG10 could be thrown in there as well. So that's the decision you have to make. For me, that pivot does me in. You know, Stazza was going to have me hold one of these knives around for testing. It's not going to be this one, because if I need to take it apart, I don't want to have to deal with that pivot, so I'll keep a Thorn or a Beluga or something. But overall, this is my favorite. It's just that pivot that gives me a little bit of worry. Anyhow, guys, don't forget to hit up the apexnews.com for your knife news and the podcast. You can listen to the Slicey Dicey podcast and the Apex News podcast and read the show notes all over at theapexnews.com. And you guys have a wonderful day. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe here, and I will see you next time.